Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday. It is the 11th day of April, 2022. I hope you had a good weekend. Happy Monday to you all. I hope that this day finds you and your family safe and healthy today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and those who are the first responders, whose primary job is to save human lives every day. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage to keep streets, sidewalks, highways clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for our convenience and comfort. Double blessings on the men and women who are trying to rescue, help, and deliver the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of pornography and child pornography, the victims of prostitution and child prostitution and human trafficking and sex slavery, and double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts who get off and profit on this human misery. Finally, blessings upon those that are homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and especially children on the streets of the United States of America. And millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. And I say blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game yesterday. Actually, there was a basketball game Friday as well. And usually I would review the game Saturday night. But because the game took place in Washington, D.C., and I live in that area, I cannot see the game on League Pass until 3 full days after the game. So I won't even be able to see the game until tonight or tomorrow. But I did see the game against Toronto. And I did read about the results, obviously, and saw the highlights from the game on Friday. So overall, Obi, to me, has established himself as the point guard, the power forward of the future for the Knicks. If you go back in my videos to earlier this season and last summer, actually, I put out videos that show we were going to have an Obi problem because Obi is talented and so talented that he cannot continue to play behind Julius Randle. He would have to be moved if they were going to keep Julius Randle. Okay. Now let's go back in history for a moment. The New York Knicks in 2020 put out in the media through Ian Begley and others that they were looking for a stretch four. 2020 was the first year that Julius Randle played for the New York Knicks. We had a losing record. And for all you Julius supporters, and I'm not going to argue with you, but just looking at it objectively, in 8 years in the NBA, Julius Randle has only been on one winning team. That is when he got drafted by the Lakers, and the Lakers let him go, and he signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with New Orleans. They were losing then. That's him and Anthony Davis. And then he came to New York, and he's been under 500 on every team. Why do I mention that? An impact player causes his teammates to get better. An impact player raises the level of play for those on the floor with him. The winning record that we did have a year ago was the first year that Julius was in a winning program. And as I look back, I think that was an aberration only because he was in a contract year. So he went from his rookie deal to $9 million a year with New Orleans and being considered a bust, being a top 5 pick. Then he goes to New York and gets a $63 million deal, of which 2 years were guaranteed. So now he's in the contract year after making $20 million a year, and he comes in the shape of his life. And they end up with a winning record, of course, combining that with other factors. Like there was a COVID season, no fans in the stands, several things. They were shortened season, 72 games, several other factors. But generally, we saw what happened. We saw also his first playoff, and it was a disaster. For Julius, a terrible disaster. He continued to play like he played for the other 6 seasons this year. The only difference was his attitude was worse. Okay? Just give an overall analysis of the situation. He's a 20-10 guy. That's 20 rebounds, 20 points, 20 points, 10 rebounds a game from when he got to New Orleans. So he's always been a 20-10 guy. The problem is he's not making everybody else better, and it's not producing W's. So, and he played with Anthony Davis. So, that being the case, when Obi Toppin comes into the game, everybody gets better. There's profitable results. Now, you might say it's the end of the season, don't matter. No, not really, because these games that Obi's been starting, the teams they've been playing have something to play for. Okay? Even Toronto yesterday played. Okay, so if you really don't want your starters in the game, you don't play them like Milwaukee did. Yesterday, they played no starters. They played all subs. Okay? But the Toronto had OG Anunoby playing, Scotty Barnes playing, Gary Trent Jr. playing, Precious Achiuwa playing, Chris Boucher playing, Thaddeus Young. The only guy that was really out from their regular rotation were two important guys now. They were Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet. Okay, and Siakam leads the league in minutes. Believe it that. So they gave him a rest, and then Fred VanVleet was in street clothes. But they had a team out there that could win. And the Knicks, overwhelmed them. Obi overwhelmed them. So what I'm saying is they drafted Obi in 2000 to be that stretch four. And if you remember in 2000, go back and look at the draft night. When the Knicks picked Obi Toppin, the most excited guy in the green room was Leon Rose. He wanted Obi. And at that year, Obi wasn't my first choice that year. I had Halliburton ahead of Obi that year. I had Halliburton. Actually, I had Okoro ahead of Obi that year. And Cleveland had worked out multiple players like most teams, but it came down to Okoro and Obi. As the reports that year were coming out, Obi and Okoro were getting the closest looks from the Cavaliers. So I thought and then you had the order of teams after. New York picked 8th that year. Cavaliers picked 5th, I think. After Pat Williams was shocked, because Chicago picked Pat Will, and we liked Pat Will, that year. I thought he would go about 10. Well, Chicago picked him 4, right? That changed everything. But then Cleveland came, and I thought if they picked Okoro, because I kind of knew what Detroit was going to do, what Atlanta was going to do that year, and if they picked Okoro, Obi was going to be a Knick, and that's what happened. And Leon was the most excited because he was even thinking of trading up to get Obi. So he wanted Obi Toppin. Leon Rose, the president, wanted Obi Toppin and got him. Okay. So now, Obi ends up playing very sparing minutes behind Julius Randle, who was an all-star and all-NBA third team, tops in minutes, 40% from 3, all of that. So Leon, now at the end of that season, that's 2021 we're talking about now. Julius is eligible for $200 million. $200 million. Players do not leave money on the table. No player does that. This is business. Okay, everybody looking for hometown discount. They said Carmelo gave a hometown discount when he signed his $100 and something million deal. The discount was like $5 million. They don't like to leave money on the table, y'all. So the $100 million he got was what Leon felt he was worth. Not only that, Leon has established a pattern of making the contracts in such a way that he could trade them if he needs to. Either they're short term or, as in Randall's case, they're below what the market would be. So now here we come this year. Randle signed his extension. The attitude between his teammates, the attitude with the fans, the attitude with the officials, with his own assistant coaches, and then got the nerve to talk about what he was worried about his son after he showed his behind on all those other occasions. And the fans in New York were not having it. We're not having it. Here come Obi, smiling all the time, bouncy, energetic, youthful, and productive. And unfortunately, a lot of y'all are so short-sighted, you only thought, oh, he can just dunk. You're not really looking at the game. A lot of us knew he could play if he given the opportunity to play. And he did. He showed that. It's no coincidence they shut Julius down for the so-called thigh injury for the remainder of the season about a week ago to get a closer look at Obi. 42 yesterday. 35 before that. 19, 20, 20. That was the last 5 games for Obi Toppin. Okay? And the thing is about him, he's a very willing passer. He doesn't force shots. He can attack you in multiple ways. He's very fast. I remember I told some of y'all last year, he don't have 2 legs. He got 2 jets because that cat can run, man. So the speed of running the floor is a weapon when you have a point guard that looks up and quickly, at least even if I don't consider him a point guard, he looks for Obi on those breaks. That's a weapon. Okay. The second championship in Houston when they beat, they beat the Knicks. We know that in the NBA finals, but there was another one where they got Clyde Drexler from Portland, who was also a speed demon, on the open floor. And they won the finals on that. Olajuwon outletting to him and him beating everybody down the floor. That's how Houston won that second championship. That's a weapon. And Obi provides that. Now he's showing the 3-point shot that I always knew he had. It's just that he needed the rhythm, the time, the sweat, the minutes to get it going. Then the mid-range he showed. Coming off the dribble. He can rebound too. There's multiple ways that he can hurt you. So now we got Obi Toppin as the starting point power forward. I think they're going to trade Julius. Now listen to Leon Rose's interview. And Leon, first of all, it was a staged interview. Right? It wasn't off the cuff. Like when you see a Tibbs come into a press conference after a game, or you see one of the players come into a press, they're answering off the cuff because they don't even know what the questions are going to be. Here you had Mike Breen in the studio. Mike Breen's MSG employee interviewing Leon Rose. It wasn't an open news media situation. Like Berman couldn't come at him. And everything was taped and very much packaged, which is just like a company line type of thing. And even in that, he committed to the youth. We got to develop what we have, he said. We got to see what we have in our young guys, we said. We got to build the right way, we said. And that means building from the ground up. That is what we all want in Knicks Nation. Or most of us. Okay, in spite of the, people like my man Mark Berman saying, we need to go get a big star. That's not the way Leon's thinking. And he said but we have flexibility if an opportunity presents itself. What does that mean? That means if Zion decides, I'm not going to sign a long-term extension with New Orleans, I'm going to go with a qualifying offer, and New Orleans knows now he wants to leave, and he says he wants New York, we can make a deal. That means if Donovan Mitchell says, I want to be in New York permanently, we just got bounced in the first round, I'm out. I want y'all to send me to New York. We can make a deal. That's where the flexibility comes in. So what happens, people get confused and think that that's not the focus. That's if those situations arise. But if they don't, you're prepared by continuing year 3 of your rebuild with the young players you drafted. Okay. And so he made a mistake in trying to short circuit that by bringing in Evan Fournier, bringing in a Kemba Walker. But even the Kemba Walker deal, I felt at the time was set up to be short term. It was a 2-year, $9 million per deal. That's not a long-term commitment. And see, so I felt like Leon was already looking at the guards we already have, but they just needed time. He didn't want to rush him forward, which they did. But now Kemba's out and you got quickly. You don't need another guard. That's why some of y'all keep asking me about point guards in the draft. And I've been telling you from the beginning, I wasn't into Ty Washington. I'm not into no guy, Kennedy, nobody in this draft. First of all, be real. You got Tom Thibodeau as your coach. Wojnarowski has already announced. Listen carefully, y'all. Adrian Wojnarowski has already announced they're committed to Tom Thibodeau at least through next season. He's not going anywhere. He's your coach. So why are you mentioning rookie point guards? Stop it. You're not going to play. They're not going to play. So we're not wasting a draft pick on a kid that's not going to play. All right. So that's out. And we got now quickly who they drafted in 2021 with Obi Toppin. We got Deuce McBride. We got D Rose as your veteran, and you still got Joko Bidas. You forgot about him. So we don't need no more point guards. We gotta look. I believe we solved the problem already, but we gotta at least find out if we solved the problem without bringing in an $80 million mid-level point guard in Brunson. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a point guard, but $80 million? Hell no. So I'm just saying, let's see what we got. We're in year 3 to rebuild. Okay? Nobody's saying we win a championship next year, but we want to take that next step. We went backwards this year, trying to appease all these veterans. Okay? Now, I'm going to do a live stream. Probably tonight, I'm going to do a live stream. And we're going to talk about going forward, what the Knicks are going to probably do, what I'm thinking they're going to do going forward, right? And then what we would like them to do going forward. That's what we're going to talk about. But right now, he's already committed to young players. All I want to know now is who is he sending out as far as the vets. I think we're going to keep D Rose because he's a mentor to the young players, and he's got stuff left to come off the bench for us. And I think we'll commit to Taj on the vet men next year for the same thing, the mentorship. Everybody else is on the table. Okay, so and Leon can get that done. We're going to talk about the draft also going forward. We'll talk about that probably starting tomorrow, the draft. But right now, I want Obi Toppin as our start. And I believe he is. He's going to be the starting power forward. Emmanuel Quickly is going to be the starting point guard. You're going to have that. You're going to have Deuce coming off the bench with D Rose. The only question to me is what they're going to do with Fournier. And this is what some of y'all got to think, in this era of everything quick and we get information in seconds, in microseconds, people don't think more than surface level. Listen, you got Quentin Grimes and you got Cam Reddish in a contract year. You sent out Kevin Knox to get Cam Reddish, who's going to be in a contract year. Okay? You cannot have enough minutes between Grimes, Cam, and Fournier. Something's got to give. Okay, something's got to give. Now, somebody mentioned the Knicks were thinking about sending Cam to the Lakers, but they were sending Cam to the Lakers. You got to look at what they were getting back. They were getting back Dragic's expiring deal. And they were looking for more picks, and that's why the deal didn't go through. Somebody said that Leon was asking for too much. But that's how Leon does business. I'd rather have that on my team, right? Somebody that asks for more, give me more. I like that. But you got these 3 guys, so you got to make a decision as to what you're going to do. One of them is going. Somebody's going. You cannot have all 3 and play them. Okay, play them. And especially on the Thibodeau team. So what are you going to do? Well, I think Fournier's the odd man out. But it could be Cam. But I think Grimes is a keeper. They're going to keep Grimes. They drafted him, right? They're going to keep Grimes. But other than that, something's got to move. So I think you're going to see a Grimes or a Cam at that starting spot next year. And that also depends on Zion as well. If Zion decides he wants to come to New York now, Cam is starting. The 3 Duke dudes will start. Okay? Now, Mitchell Robinson. Got to sign Mitchell Robinson. We've been saying that from the beginning. Got to sign. And Leon mentioned they're continuing discussions. What that means, brothers and sisters, is they haven't come to an agreement because Mitch Rob wants to test the market and see what he's worth on the open market, which is the smart business decision. Okay. And whatever he's worth on the open market, Leon will match it unless it's outrageous and somebody does a poison pill contract. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll match whatever a reasonable offer for Mitch it is. And even I think they'll go $60 million for him. And so that will happen. And so unless Mitch decides, I want to move to Dallas, I want to live in Dallas, or I want to live in New Orleans, or I want to live in Florida, then that might change. But if he likes New York, and I think he really does like Madison Square Garden, genuinely. If that's the case, he'll sign with the Knicks and be back. If not, he'll leave. But that's something we got to take care of. If we don't sign Mitchell Robinson, let me just put this out here very clearly for y'all. We are not drafting a rookie center. Why? It takes 2 or 3 seasons to develop a rookie center. You don't just come out and play in the NBA and do great right away. It's very difficult. Okay. And so Duran or Chet Holmgren, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get that guy. Mark Williams, forget those guys. We don't need a rookie center. Okay. So what do we got? Look, New Orleans got 2 centers, Jackson Hayes and Valanciunas. If we trade with them, with Zion, we could get one of them. Okay. The Wizards, Daniel Gafford out of Arkansas and Joe Bryant, they are good centers. You're not going to get an all-star, but you can get somebody that can definitely play defense and be solid. Okay. You got and there's others. There's Mo Bamba. We mentioned him. There's a multitude of centers out there that you could get. You want to get a veteran. You know, if you want a veteran, you can go get the guy from Philly that went to the Nets there, from Connecticut, who's from Mount Vernon. Okay. Drummond. There's a number of guys you could get. You're not going to draft a rookie center though. That's starting all over. You got Christian Wood in New Orleans, in Houston, who plays center and power forward. There's a number of guys we could get, right? So I'm not worried about drafting a rookie center this year. That's just a waste of time. You kind of taking steps backwards because he's going to be in foul trouble for 2 years. That's how it works. Okay. So forget that. So we can forget the point guards and forget the rookie center. You're looking at wings or power forwards, especially if you're going to trade Julius Randle. And everybody worried about his trade value being low. I'm not. That's what Leon was doing yesterday. It was damage control. How he was talking about Julius to keep his value up. That's their job. They'll take care of that. You know, I'm not worried about that. And I'm not worried about what we get back for him. As long as we get the space. We got the kids. We got to play them. Okay. And this is a power forward strong draft. You know, you got a number of kids you could bring in and play the 4, and Cam could play the backup 4 as well. So I'm not worried about that. But the space for 2023 to see what we could do, I'd like that. That's more valuable than whatever player we can get back for Julius Randle outside of Zion Williamson. So that's what I'm saying. Point guard, like I said, Emmanuel Quickley. And I'm one that believes Deuce is going to be a better point guard and basketball player than Emmanuel Quickley. And even I say start Emmanuel Quickley. Because he's ready. He's 1 year ahead of Deuce in both experience and dealing with Thibodeau. Put him out there. And then give Deuce those backup minutes. That's fine. Okay, as long as it's consistent, it's gonna be good. Cam and Grimes need time. They need minutes. Okay. As much as Fournier shot the ball extremely well this year overall, over 40% from 3, set the Knicks record for threes in the season, breaking John Starks' record. I'm telling you, if you put Grimes in that same position and give him those same minutes, you'll get more. You'll get more on both sides of the basketball. You can't even compare these two guys defensively. Grimes is miles ahead. In only his rookie year, he's miles ahead of Fournier defensively. Offensively, just give him the minutes and you're going to see something. Okay. You're going to see something. Cam, like I said, I always believe Cam has number 1 option talent. What do I mean by that? He has the talent to be a number 1 option once he's developed. He has that type of talent. Okay. So I don't care which one of those guys you start. Start one and give the other one the backup minutes so you got RJ and one of those 2 guys, and then the other guy will be rotating with them. You know, that works, you know. So at this point, I'm very excited about where we're going. We just need addition by subtraction. That's the watchword right here in this offseason, y'all. Addition by subtraction. It's not addition to get more. It's addition by subtraction. That's the watch. That's the phrase. Addition by subtraction. That means by getting rid of guys, you're going to get better. Okay. So you got to clean that cupboard of them veterans that Tibbs leans on, like his mother's breast milk. You got to clean the cupboard of them and give him these kids that he'll be familiar with, all of them from this year and some of them from last year. And now he has a group of guys he could trust. You're going to bring in another rookie who probably won't play that much unless he has to. And then the biggest revelation to me was Jericho Sims. How could you get a guy that could play like that at the 58th pick? So you got a good backup center right there. And they're all going to work hard this summer to get better. All of them, especially knowing that Thibodeau is coming back. Thibodeau is going to be back. That's lock. That's booked. Book that. He's back. Don't worry about whether he getting fired. He's not. He's going to be back. Okay. So now Leon's got to set that recipe up, set the ingredients, the team up, so that Tibbs know what he working with, and make it young people. Make it the guys we got, the guys we drafted. Okay. So that's where we at. The season, look at this now. The Knicks, when we had bad seasons, they'd win what? 21 games, 20 games, 17 games. The theme that was common before Tibbs got here was the Knicks were consistently racking up 50 loss seasons. Right? That was consistent. They were racking up 50 loss seasons. We won 37 games in a bad year. That's with Julius Randle acting a fool, right? Tom Thibodeau with the wrong freaking rotations, right? And putting them in the wrong time. We won 37 games still. That's in a bad year. Okay. It's only the second year of 10 that Tom Thibodeau wasn't above 500. I expect that to change next year. I expect it to change. Okay. So I look back and say, yes, we were disappointed. And the reason I was disappointed wasn't so much the record. It was so much that we were supposed to be in year 2 of a rebuild, and they tried to short circuit the process and skip steps, which turned into what we see. You can't skip steps. Okay. You got to go one step at a time. So now they end up 37-45, 11th, I think it was 11th, in the East, and just out of the playoff or play-in. And, so we'll draft in 12th. We'll talk about that, tomorrow. But, we want to go into more detail later about the future of what we got and where we're going. Because I think the Knicks have a foundation right now, a core. In fact, Leon named the core. He talked about Obi. He talked about Obi and Quick. And he talked about the 3 guys that we drafted this year. And he said, that's our core. And he's right. That is the core. And so I think with that core and then RJ, and if we re-sign Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks are going to be really good next year in year 3. They're going to be really good. Okay. But we're going to see what happens as the summer goes on. So what do we have coming forward? I'm going to be doing we're going to be doing the draft. We're going to be talking about more about the kids that are coming out, that are available for the Knicks or really fit with the Knicks. And you can know right now, I'm not talking about any centers. So don't come at me with Mark Williams. Don't come at me with Chet Holmgren. Don't come at me with Duran. We're not dealing with centers. You don't come out with Kennedy. I don't want to hear about Ty. We're not dealing with point guards. They're not going to play, y'all. Even if they were good, they're not going to play. Okay? You deal with Tom Thibodeau. So, no. But let's talk about the wings. Let's talk about the power forwards. Okay? Let's talk about them. And let's deal with them. And there's enough of them in this draft so we can get a good player at 12. We're going to get a good player at 12, y'all. And even if we need to trade down, we can get a good player. And if we trade up a little bit, we're going to get a good player. You'll see. Walt Perrin knows what the heck he's doing. Okay? So we'll see what happens. But so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about free agency when that opens up. So we're dealing with draft, we're dealing with free agency. And then, of course, they're going to come to Summer League for whoever we do get. Plus, I'm just guessing that Deuce is probably going to play. Deuce is going to play in the Summer League along with whoever rookie we get there. I don't know if Grimes will or does he even need to, but I know Deuce will probably do that. And then we'll have the Summer League. Joko Bidas probably will be back for the summer. So we'll have that too in the Summer League. And then we're going into the next season. So that's the agenda going forward. We're dealing with the draft. We're dealing with the draft in terms of who they working out, who they watching, what's coming up in the news as far as who Thibodeau likes, like we did last year. And then we'll go from there. So that's the agenda. We got really a busy schedule because we're the New York Knicks nation, y'all. So unlike other nations, it's a 24-hour thing, 360, 365, 24/7. The Knicks are always in the news. There's always something going on. So, like I said, the draft, leading up to the draft, okay, the draft position, the players we're looking at, the free agency we're dealing with, and then, of course, we're talking about Summer League. So, we got a lot to deal with, okay? So, we're going to be doing some things. The Raw Hebrew crew going to be doing what they do, all right? But at the end of this season, in spite of everything, I think we did good in terms of winning 37 games in spite of everything that went on. And then, of course, we did get some development. RJ came for a 46-point game. Obi dropped 42, quickly triple doubling. Mitch Robb, top two in offensive rebounding in the NBA. Okay. Quentin Grimes knocking down 5 or 6 threes in a game. I think we're going to be all right. And that's with a Tom Thibodeau who don't like to play young players. So I think we're going to be all right. Deuce showed enough flashes that, Leon mentioned him. He said, you know what? Deuce did good this year with the minutes that he got. We're going to continue to develop. Tom said it. This guy can defend. He's got a gift to defend. Yes, he does. So we're going to talk about all of that as we go forward. Don't worry, Knicks Nation. We're in a good spot right now. We really are. The next move's on Leon to make sure that he sets up this roster so that we can take advantage of what we have. All right? In the meantime, enjoy your Monday. Please be safe. Sure.